Welcome to the Private Lenders Podcast with your hosts from Hard Money Bankers, Jason Balin and Chris Haddon. This podcast is sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com.
Hey everyone, Chris and Jason here. Thank you for checking out the show. Today we are talking about marketing, not because you need more deals, but because you want better deals. And I'll tell you a little background of where this came from, and then we're going to break down exactly what we mean. So it's a common conversation with inner circle members and people with an online mastermind that they are not marketing yet because they don't feel they have all of the capital in place. And we're not going to talk about actually, we will talk about a little bit of capital stuff too, but we do want to discuss why that is a faulty approach. And here's why. If you're in a position where you don't want to do any more loans month to month that you're currently doing because of capital constraints, that's your current constraint, you should still be marketing so that you can bring in better deals. It's a numbers game. If you bring in more leads, you can be more selective and you can do better and safer deals. I don't have enough capital is not a good excuse. What people think is like, what if people call me and I don't have the capital to do their loan. I don't want to tell people that I don't have the money to do their loan. And I think you got to be a little more strategic than that. You can quote differently. You can be more conservative. You can pass on certain deals entirely that maybe don't live up to the standards. Like, you don't have to do every loan that applies with you.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely a concern that a lot of folks have is, well, I don't have, I barely have enough cash for the loans I'm doing now. I don't want to tell people I don't have enough cash. And listen, if it comes down to it, and that's like the worst thing that ever happens to you, is you say, hey, listen, I can't take on this opportunity. I'm not saying take on opportunities and committing to somebody without it. I mean, like, worst case scenario, it occurs. You're on the phone with somebody and said, hey, listen, I'd love to help you out, but like, you need $300,000. I don't have that $300,000. Like, you can say a good way to get out of that. And that's worst case scenario, right? So the thing with
thoughts here. No, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this was planned by us early on in 2007 when we started, like if this was just intuitive or not, but I feel like we were always like, hey, let's just try to find every good deal that we can get our hands on. And over the years, and I don't know if you're listening or watching this, if you've had this feeling, but like sometimes when you're like super, super busy and you have like busy in a good way and you have like lots of deal flow and lots of good deals going, you have like the feeling of being scared where you're like, oh crap, like I'm growing really fast. I'm doing a lot of deals. Am I being too aggressive? Should I be more conservative? And that kind of like spot checks you when you're like, hey, like maybe I should like settle down a little bit and, maybe I should tell borrowers 30% down instead of 20% down, just to kind of regulate that. And then it, usually just works itself out. And on the other side, you're in a position where it's like, hey, I don't have that many deals coming in today. Maybe I'm too conservative. Maybe I need to be more aggressive in order to do so. And, that's not obviously the case either. Point being is that you always should be marketing and you always should be finding good opportunities. And if you're, we've talked about the seesaw, right? Too much cash, not enough deals. Too many deals, not enough cash. But if you're on that spectrum of the seesaw and you're a little bit nervous of the cash, just do better deals, right? Cherry pick the best of the best of the best. So number one, your portfolio is cleaner. Number two, having access to lots of good deals that are coming in, I promise you, it'll motivate you and force you to go raise more capital because you want to be able to do them and it exists. And kind of the law of attraction works itself out.
Yeah, it makes sense to put yourself in a position where you need to raise capital. Like, I'm not talking about, $5 million in a month. Like, that's kind of not what we do in our niche. But if you are fully deployed and you take on, let's say, a $300K really good deal that should get done, average loan amount, sign them up. Put out a term sheet and sign them up and go get the capital. You'll get it. You've gotten X amount already. If you have a hot deal that needs to close in 2 weeks, you'll get the $300K. Like, don't worry about it. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Yeah,
I was going to switch like topics a little.
Listen, this is like 101 stuff that I remember us talking about on our podcast years ago when we started this. But like high net worth individuals or folks that have capital, they need investment vehicles. They need to deploy that capital. The hardest thing for them to find that, Warren Buffett included, has so much sideline capital trying to be opportunistic and find the right deals, right? If you have those right deals, those good opportunities, those good deals, the capital will follow. And there's no better way to raise capital than to have good deals, really good deals in order to do so. So, you obviously want to check yourself if the deals you're doing are really good, right? And then I challenge you to potentially get them even better if there's an influx and if you've had a lot of growth recently. But like, that's the play. When we started, we were terrified we weren't going to be capital. And I don't think either one of us will sit here and say that it was easy to raise capital. It was hard. It was a grind.
It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work to do so. That being said, every capital investor that we talked to at the beginning, and we described the types of deals that we were going to provide or find of experienced borrowers, good credit. They're going to put down, a good amount of money on these deals. It's in a good area. They can execute on this. Typically, they'd always come back to us and be like, yeah, if you can find me deals like that, I'll lend on them all day long. Like, no problem. Why wouldn't they just go to a bank? And then it's like, excellent, right? Now we know. Now let's go find deals. And I'm not saying, and we're not sitting here talking about how easy it is to find tons and tons of good deals, right? You got to create a marketing machine. And we've done episodes and courses and trainings on talking about that and growing that snowball of lead flow. Point being is you should never stop that marketing machine, right? Because it'll help you raise capital, help you do better deals.
Yeah, a couple other pointers that I was just thinking about if you put this kind of stuff in place, like, and you want to get a little bit more selective because you want better deal quality and you are getting more leads. You don't have to tell people, you don't have to put in a potential client or a repeat client's mind that, oh, I'm only doing 30% down now. Like, don't say stuff like that. Don't say stuff like that that's going to stick in their mind as to what they believe your underwriting criteria is. What you should talk about is deal by deal. Be like, in this particular case, would it be okay if, we put up 300 and you bring 100 cash to the table? Like, just make it one-off. Don't set out firm guidelines that is going to stick in somebody's mind, because that's just not the reality of our business. Like, we underwrite deal to deal and, day to day, month to month, based on market conditions and everything else going on, and even the pipeline. Even sometimes, like, how full the pipeline is can affect, that's kind of another conversation, but that can affect how you're quoting loans today. So anyway, like, don't pigeonhole yourself into like, these are our guidelines. We do X amount down. Like, it's not the way this business works. And then the other thing I was thinking of is related to funds. If you are growing and running a Reg D fund, that's how you have your capital organized. And this is getting more and more popular in the inner circle and online mastermind too. If you're running a fund, that's another really, really good reason to market for more borrowers, because I was having a conversation with a capital investor earlier this week, and he's a very savvy guy. He does co-lending investing. He does fund investing in this stuff. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And he said, the one thing that worries me about a fund is that if the lending company has to hit a hurdle for the fourth quarter of this year, say, at the end of this quarter, they have to pay out X amount of dollars to these investors to give them the return that was promised in the fund documentation. Are they going to get more aggressive than they should on the deals that they're agreeing to do because they need to hit that hurdle? Think about that, right? Like, you know that you have this payment going out. It's, $100K, whatever it might be at the end of this month, and you need some more revenue. It's going to be a drain on your current cash. And so you might get a little bit outside of your own underwriting guidelines and comfort zone and agree to do a deal for that reason, right? Makes total sense. And it also makes sense why that would scare investors a bit. All the more reason to like really turn on that marketing engine. It doesn't have to be all at once. You don't have to do everything from social to email marketing to paid traffic to like, mailers and text messages. Like, you don't have to do it all at once, but whatever it is, pick a couple channels and be consistent. email list should be number one. That's the lowest hanging fruit. It's cheap. It's right there. That's huge. And then you can figure it out from there. If you want to get active on social, if you want to run some paid traffic, whatever it might be, just put it in place and make sure that it never turns off. Be very, very consistent and intentional with your marketing. Over time, you can add to it. You can subtract certain channels that aren't producing well. Whatever it is, be very, very consistent with it. Like every aspect of your business needs you to be marketing for deals coming in the front door.
Yeah. And I mean, really, by doing so, you have so much to gain and nothing to lose on not having, potentially that capital if you had to in order to close a deal. Like, you have so much to gain and nothing to lose. And remember, worst case scenario is use a script. I'll give you an example real quick that I just wrote down while Chris was talking, to tell them that, hey, you might not have the capital available to do this one, and I can't commit to you. And you're transparent with somebody and you're honest with somebody. And that's worst case scenario. Chances are, if you have a good deal, you're going to find capital for it because it's going to force you to do it. And you might have to get outside your comfort zone a little bit. But like worst case scenario is use a script like, listen, man, this seems like a really good project and I really want to help you with it. I really want to be involved. That being said, like, I can't 100% commit to you. I really want to, and I want to help you with this project, but I'm a little bit concerned that I'm not going to be able to, put the capital up. I'm not going to be able to put $300,000 into this deal. I'm waiting on some other payoffs. Unfortunately, I can't commit to you. Maybe we can touch base here soon. And I don't even think you're going to have to go in that direction. And I don't even remember us ever having to go in that direction, because whenever we found a good enough deal, we were able to, figure out ways.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Make it work. It was, it was a growth company. We had to go raise capital. That was part of the operation.
It was stressful.
We spent just as much time raising capital as we were out there finding, good deals over and over and over and over. Because here's the thing.
Right.
If you have more deals than you have capital, you're in a good spot. It might not sound like you're in a good spot, but if it's completely the opposite, where it's like, I got tons and tons of capital, I don't have any more deals, like, cool. Go get off the horse and go find some good opportunities, and don't do crappy opportunities just because you have extra capital, right? Like Chris was mentioning.
Definitely.
So if you feel like you have lots of really good deals, and a little bit short on capital, not a bad thing. It'll force you to get capital, and worst case scenario, you just do better deals. There's no lose. You're not going to lose in this situation, right? You're going to do better deals. It's going to force you to find it, and be transparent. Be honest with people. Tell them it's like, hey, I just can't fully commit to you on this one. Like, I feel like I'm very transparent with borrowers from the beginning about situations. I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he had a really good project. It was a commercial deal, and he had to close by next Friday or the deal was dead. And I know that we have to get an environmental on it, because he told me that he was nervous that there could be some stuff that shows up on a phase one, and he was promised by the other lender that the other lender wouldn't do a phase one. And then they came back to him last minute and said, oh yeah, we're going to have to do one now. And he's pissed off. And I'm like, hey man, like, I'd love to help you and say that I can't, even at a super low LTV, but like, I'm going to have to do a phase one on this. And I was transparent with him. He wasn't happy that we couldn't close by it. And I was like, it's possible I can rush it through, but I can't promise that. And you be honest and transparent with people, and it goes a long way. And you're not going to, even if it's a repeat borrower, they're not going to get pissed off at you if they don't have the capital available, if you're upfront and transparent with them, as long as you do it upfront, and they're still going to give you their next deal.
All right, guys, that's the pod for today. To summarize all of that stuff that we were just spewing out, and we get a little excited about this because it's really important. Just remember that this business, and most businesses, to be honest, is a marketing game. You're a marketing company. It's a marketing business. Some people don't want to accept that, but that is the case. And also, mind you, the fact that your competition doesn't want to accept that is an opportunity for you to win, to stand out. Outmarket your competition. You'll get better deals. You'll get more deals. Thank you for checking out the episode. And until next time, we'll see everyone inside hardmoneymastermind.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast. Please note that the opinions stated by all the speakers on this show are only opinions and not intended for legal, financial, or accounting advice. please make sure to always check with your own legal, accounting, and financial professionals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast, we'd appreciate it if you would spread the word. Make sure to check out hardmoneymastermind.com, the #1 free community for new and experienced private and hard money lenders.